Good evening, Americans. This is your favorite alien and Bubba here on the evening of Sunday, April 11th, 2021. Sitting in for Paul Harvey this evening. Stand by for the rest of the story. Well, our story is about Leslie. Leslie was an unique individual. He was born in the southern district of London in 1903 called Eastland. There. And by the time he was 4, his family decided to immigrate to the USA. So they immigrated to, of all places, New York City. There, Leslie started to become less British and more American. So, by say 1916 or 1918, he was developing into a nice kid. He would have been around 15 years old, and he decided to go into the sweet science, boxing. Yes. So he started to box and got a good record, 3-1. Which, it's pretty good there. But what happened? That's the problem nobody knows. He was a featherweight, up and coming by most people at the time. But somehow or another, he didn't like what he was doing. So he quit. And then he picked up this new thing that was coming out and getting popular called vaudeville. So he started to become a vaudevillian and do all kinds of little acts and stuff, and he developed his own way of doing things. Comedy up to that time was silent comedy. Fatty Arbuckle, the Keystone Cops, and Charlie Chaplin were the number one guys in comedy. Well, in vaudeville, he decided to do his own type of comedy, stand-up comedy, where he would be up there in front of people, and he developed his own way of delivering jokes. And the way he did it is the one-liners. And that got him attention. So after 1919 through most of the 20s, he started doing that. Then he decided that, hey, in 1926-27, he branched into the new medium that was coming out of radio. And he found that he could do good stuff at radio. So he went into radio. But he was still having a job. He made radio his day job, but he still had his night job of stand-up comic at the clubs, usually Broadway is what he had there. So he was nighttime guy, daytime, nighttime. Leslie was everything there. In the 1930s, he got a little acting bug because by 1927, Al Jolson became the first guy in a talkie movie. It wasn't silent anymore, and the jazz singer. And I guess that Leslie thought that he could bring his genre into the films. Well, he was busy most of the 30s, and starting in the late 30s, he decided he was going on the road. And he did. He went on the road for a while. But in 1941, Pearl Harbor came around and World War II hit America. It didn't change Leslie. He didn't sign up. He was too old at the time, according to the individuals, to help his country. Or adopted country. Well, it was his country because he was not an American citizen at the time. So He became an entertainer, and he tried to entertain the troops. And then he went on the road a lot in the 40s, even after World War II. But he still kept the troops. And he fashioned his art even more, where he was allowed to do other things. He was getting accolades here and accolades there. And one of his comments was somebody asked him, "Oh, do you like the Academy Awards? The Oscars?" And he says, "Well, yeah, they're okay. But in my household, we call them the Passover." But he tried to make memories. And he was always thanking the people once he finished something for the memories. He did this all through his career, and he was getting accolades now in the 50s and 60s, although things were changing. The genre that he created was changing. The attitude of people towards the military was changing. And in Vietnam, everybody was spitting at the Vietnam veterans, which he didn't like, because he thought that they were the heart and soul of America. That kind of irked him all through his life, especially the Vietnam era, because, and I can understand him, I was a kid in Vietnam, and Mr. Harvey, if he probably did this story for him, could have understand that too. It was a shameful period of American history to me, and probably to him, the 1960s and 70s, because you spit on people that were giving their lives, 58,000 of them, and people just didn't care in those days, just like they don't care about police today or firefighters today. They could care less about the military. Hey, they don't put them in high esteem anymore. Even though you say, "Oh, we thank you for your service," yeah, that's just lip service. That's what Leslie would have said today. Well, he still kept on doing his shows, helping the military when he could. But his shining star was starting to dim. And of course, he was away from the road, and he just came in once in a while. Did bits and pieces here, special there. And then came the bombing of the Beirut, where the 241 Marines died in Lebanon. And that irked him. He went and did a show there, and then the Gulf War of 1991, he did a show there. But he was getting up in age. So in 1997, he retired. And nobody ever saw him. He did guest appearances on shows between the 60s and the 90s. But he was, half gone, half bent, more or less. He also was the only one that had a foursome. He liked golf. And in the 1970s, he had a foursome with President Gerald R. Ford, Mr. George H.W. Bush, and a young kid named Clinton, William Jefferson Clinton. They made up the other three of the foursome. And that's the one and only time in history where three presidents of the United States were on a golf foursome. At this Desert Classic Pro-Am tournament. Leslie, he never lost his charm, and his one-liners were still going. He always had a one-liner for the All-America team. AP All-America team, yeah, he always had that. Anyway, he passed away in 2003 at the age of 100 in his hometown of California. So we say to Leslie Towns, Hope, otherwise known as Bob Ho Ho Hope. And now you know the rest of the story. This is your favorite alien and Bubba. Oh, before I say sitting in for Paul Harvey and good day, you forgot the most important part. That's Bob Ho Ho Hope, aka Packy East. Good day.